Okay, so the second illustration is coming up. Okay, so I did the reading for the first one, so I guess one of you should do this for me. Okay, let me do the reading because I'm going to ask a lot of questions. So prepare the cash book of Rahina 2 Limited for the month of May 2018. First, May started business with 8,000 cash. Second, received a loan from Philip, 700 check. Fifth, bought goods with cash from Dominic. 10th, bought motor van, 2,500 cash. 15th, sold goods for check, 1,000 Ghana cedis. And then 20th, deposited cash of 500 into bank account. So my obvious question is, what type of cash book are you supposed to prepare? 2 column, 3 column, or 1 column? And please justify why. Since Prof. Frank led us into the last time, this time please bring us back. Prof. Frank, what type of cash book should we prepare?
Two column cash book.
Okay, this time what's the reason? Because
there's a check.
Because there's a check.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the answer is correct for the 2 column, but your justification, I'm having a little bit of challenge with it. Are we preparing the 2 column because there is the check, or because there is something in the check? Okay, let me save you the stress. I know you know, but I'm just worrying you. So we are preparing 2 column cash book because we have both cash and check transactions. So you have to add those two in your justification because there's cash and there's check. And obviously there's no discount in the question. I'm not seeing any discount for us to go to the 3 column. So it's just the 2 column. Good. So in that case, let's prepare it. So let me move to my solution. So in the books of Rahina 2, this is the cash book. So date details, cash column and bank column. Date details, cash and bank column. Now, for you to show us that you really are on top of issues, you don't necessarily need to attach the single column or 2 column to that. Just write the cash book. The format will tell us what type of cash book we are preparing. Okay, so let's dig in. First, started business. So the business is receiving, right? Capital. So first May 2018, we debit because the business is receiving capital in the form of cash. So capital, we are going to put it under the cash column because this is a cash transaction. Thank you. On the second, received a loan from Philip, 700 check. So this is a bank transaction because check is related to bank, but it is still a receipt. So we are going to debit it. So 2nd May 2018, loan from Philip, and this time it will go under the bank column because this is a check transaction. Fifth, bought goods with cash from Dominic. So the business is buying goods, that's a payment. So we go to the credit side. 5th May 2018, details is purchases. And the amount will go under the cash column because the transaction was on cash basis. Then on the 10th, bought motor van, 2,500 cash. So another payment, 10th May 2018. We bought motor van. So motor 2,500. Finally, sold goods for check. So we are selling goods and we receive check. So that's a receipt. So we debit 15th May 2018. Sales. But this time it will go under the bank column because we received our sales in check. Now the last transaction, please, I want us to do some analysis here. Deposited cash into bank. Deposited cash into bank. So what are the receipts in this transaction, and do you also see any payment in there? So let me hear your views on it. Deposited cash into the bank account. So we are having both cash and bank in the one transaction. What's your opinion on this? As a matter of fact, are we going to debit or credit this into the cash? I like it when I ask questions like this and students are wondering, but Mr. Mwakwa, why would you worry us like that? Prof. Alexia, at least I want to burn some of the food you are digesting right now. So share your opinion on this.
So
Yes,
please, I think maybe we'll put it at both sides.
We put it at both sides.
Because it's cash and bank. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not getting that feeling.
So convince me.
But so you see, the feeling, I'm not even sure, so I can't convince.
I like the part when you say you are not sure. I want to hear what you are not sure about. The breakfast is burning. Burn the breakfast and turn it into more digestion and analysis of this transaction. Okay, Prof. Frank, can you share your view as well?
I think I would debit bank account.
Okay, you debit bank account.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is a type of transaction where we call a contra transaction, which will lead to a contra entry. Contra because this transaction is affecting both cash and bank. So it is affecting the two accounts, which happens to be in the same cash book. Okay. So contra transactions are transactions that affect the same account or the same ledger. So the debits and credits will both be in the same cash book. Now let me explain that to save you from the stress. I'm sorry for stressing you guys this morning. Okay, so look at it. Deposited cash into bank. So I love the part where Frank said he's going to debit bank because there's the evidence that bank was receiving some money. But the question is, bank was receiving from who? Cash. So it means that in essence, cash is making payment to bank. So here we have both payment and receipt. Bank is receiving and cash is paying. And if bank is receiving, you debit bank. So let's do the debit first. 20th May 2018. We are going to debit the bank. So we on the debit side for the bank, we put 500. But the details will be cash. Why? Because cash gave the money to bank. But we cannot also gloss over the fact that cash is making payment. And when we are making payment, we credit. So we go to the credit side, 20th May 2018, and credit the cash in the name of bank, 250. Now, to make it unique, this is what we do to show a contra entry. We introduce a bracket and put some C in it like this to show that there has been a contra. Yes. So there is a contra between the bank and the cash. So in the course of preparing cash books, you'll come across some of these contract transactions. And one of them is when you deposit cash into bank. So you see, cash is paying to bank. So cash is paying, bank is receiving. There's a reverse where you go and withdraw from bank. So when you withdraw from bank, it means that bank is given to cash. So in each case, you analyze the receipt and the payment and you debit and credit at the same time and introduce this symbol, if I should say, or a C in a bracket to notify the reader that there is a contra entry. So I hope it makes sense now. So please jot this somewhere because it could be examined. Contra entry. Okay, so contra entry is an entry in the same ledger, okay, where both debit and credit affect same ledger or same account. And in your preparation of the cash book, these are some of the transactions that could lead to contra entry. When you deposit cash into bank, or when you withdraw money from bank. So contra entry transactions in the cash book. One of them is when you deposit cash into bank. And we have just realized that the double entry is you debit bank when you credit the cash. The reverse is when you withdraw. So withdrawal of cash from bank, mostly for office use. So for instance, if I'm a business in Wesley Girls, I go to GCB Bank and withdraw cash to the business. Okay, that is also a contra entry. In that case, you are going to debit cash and credit the bank. You are crediting bank because the money is coming from bank. Bank is paying to cash. So I hope it is well understood now when you come across these kinds of transactions, contra transaction. Okay. Any question before we move on? Good. Now, before we move to the 3 column, I want to quickly do this for us. You remember after preparing our sales day book, purchase day book, return inwards and return outwards, we post them to the ledgers. The same thing must be done for the cash book. After preparing your cash book, you have to post to the ledgers. Now, let me quickly take you through so that you would appreciate that as well, because there have been exams questions where you have to post to the ledgers after preparing the cash book. Unfortunately, my professor Alexia has dropped off. So let me hold on a minute for it to rejoin. Okay, so let's look at the posting. Now, posting to the ledgers is very simple, like we did for the sales daybook, purchase daybook. Let me pick the first one we did. That's the first illustration we did. So when you are done with your cash book like this, you have to post to the ledgers. So you pick them entry by entry. So let's pick this first one. Now, just for the benefit of doubt, you remember we said we have 5 ledgers. Can you name them for me? Okay, let me assist you by giving you the first one. The first one is the sales ledger. So continue the rest. Your microphone is muted. So okay.
The purchases ledger.
Thank you. And then
Purchases return ledger.
unfortunately, we don't have ledgers for the return inwards and return outwards. That's the error most students make. Yeah. So we have the sales ledger, general ledger, purchases ledger. It's left with 2.
A cash book.
Our cash book, and finally the private ledger. Okay. So sales ledger, purchases ledger, general ledger, the cash book, and the private ledger. I think we are familiar with the sales ledger and purchases ledger because in our previous session, that is what we're doing most of the times, where the sales ledger will keep account of the debtors. And then purchases ledger keeps account of creditors. And then the cash book will keep the cash account and bank account. The general ledger will keep all other accounts that cannot be kept in the other ledgers. And the private ledger keeps account of transactions between the business and the owner, which are the capital account and the drawings account. So having revised on that, if we pick the first one, this first transaction is on capital. So which ledger would it go into? It will go into the private ledger. Okay. Prof. Alexia is finally. So, reaching the point, our first transaction is about capital. And based on what we have just said, capital would go into which ledger? Definitely the private ledger. So you just write your heading private ledger. Let me increase my font size so it's simple. Okay. So you open your private ledger like this. And then you can open the T account for your capital account. So let me do that quickly here. Okay, let me see if I can draw a T account quickly. Good. Okay, so this will be my capital account. And what are we going to do to capital? Credit or debit? We are going to credit because in the cash book, you have debited into your cash book. Okay. So it is the normal thing we're doing that when a business starts a business, or when the owners start a business, you debit the asset they brought and you credit capital. It's the same thing here, just that this time we are using our books of account to do the proper recording. So if you have debited your cash, you credit your capital in the private ledger, as simple as that. So you just show the date, 1st May, I'm using a freehand, so just for you to get it. The subsequent ones, you know what to do. So you are just going to tell me the type of ledger where we put it. Okay, so cash, then you put the amount there, 19,000. Okay, and that's all. You have posted the first transaction. The second is on loan. So my dear Alexia and Prof. Frank, loan account, which ledger would it be? Would it be in the sales ledger, purchase ledger, general ledger, cash book, or private ledger? Yes. Whoever gets this one, I'm taking you to Dubai next year. Prof. Frank.
Say,
Yeah.
maybe it's the general ledger.
It's not maybe, it is definitely the general ledger. Thank you very much. So you just open your general ledger and you create your loan account. You have done the debit here, so you credit your loan account. The sales will be posted to which ledger? Prof. Alexia, sales. Where would it be?
So please sales.
Yes. Is it going
So
to
please
be?
the sales.
It's going to be in the sales ledger. Are you sure about that? The sales ledger keeps account of what? Debtors, right?
Yeah, that is.
Good. So sales will go into the general ledger because sales account is not a debtor. So sales account will go to the general ledger. There's that confusion, so be very careful, otherwise they'll confuse you. Sales account will not go into sales ledger. The reason being that sales ledger only keeps account of debtors who are persons. So Kofi Ama KK Limited, those persons, both natural and artificial. So sales account is not a person in the first place. So we'll go to the general ledger. The same way purchases account will go to the general ledger. So don't let, it's very confusing, I know. And it's sometimes examinable in what they try to trick you so that you lose marks. So pay much attention to these tricky areas. Good. So when you are done with that, the balance brought down, carried down, you don't transfer them to any account because they are in the cash, or this balance is the balance on cash and it is in the cash book, so you don't have to transfer it to any ledger. When you come to this side, you have your motor one. So motor one would have to be posted to the general ledger. So in your general ledger, you open an account for motor one and you do same. So having discussed this with you, let me see what you are going to tell me or where you are going to post the following to. I think it's easier, so I have to do it myself. Capital will go to the private ledger, loan will go to the general ledger, sales will go to the general ledger. Cash will not go anywhere because it is in its ledger. Cash is in the cash book, so it won't go anywhere. Purchases will go to the general ledger, motor van will go to the general ledger, and bank pay in its cash book. So that is for the posting. Okay, so my dear professors or professor, any question for me on the 1 column and 2 column? Okay, there are no questions. So I guess we'll be wrapping up today's class. But our session is end. We have 4 minutes more for it to end. But if you have questions, please feel free to ask me.